Good morning, I'm Venus from Heart's Desire by Venus, and today we are going to start doing the tutorial that I have promised of my hybrid journals. I did do the introduction video to it previous to this, so I will link that below. Unfortunately, between the time I've started filming, when I filmed the last one and this one, that book has been sold. Not unfortunately, that's good. It's going to its forever home. So I'm going by my pictures and my videos that I did save of that walkthrough so that we can create a very similar journal memory book hybrid. I got a lot of questions about how to create a hybrid, so that's what's prompted me to do this. Normally, I don't do a craft with me, along with me kind of thing, because I like to have my stuff all pre-prepped, ready to go, and I find it's a little easier, but in this case, I have to make another one of those for a customer has requested, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to show you the whole process, and hopefully it makes sense. So if you have any questions, please don't forget to comment in the, leave a note in the comments or something there, and I will get back to you in case some of my measurements or whatever is not clear. In the last video, I did show you the kits that I was using. I've had in my stash, so I'm using them. They're digital kits. So we've got Woodland Summer Junk Journal here by Ink and Page, Forest Fairies by Taylormadejournals, and Woodland and Wildflowers Junk Journal Kit by LianaScrap. On my previous video, I had the links, but I will try and remember and put them down below again. As you can see, they're all very similar in colorings, which is why I chose them. And I mean, I've previously purchased these, so you know, it's time to use up these. I'm not collecting my digitals. I have to actually use them, even though they're so pretty. So we're just going to dive right in here. Now, for my hybrid journals, because I do a journal in there as well as the memory folding pages so that I can add the flips and flaps to stir your pages, obviously your measurements are going to be like the fold in half. I try and have my 8.5 by 11 sheet that's folded in half. So we are now looking at 5.5 by 8.5. But I like to round it up a little bit more because you want to have your book so that it's not right to the cover, you know, so that the pages don't get damaged. So we're going to start with the spine because my spine dictates how big my cover is. And again, this is the size I'm doing. You can size this up and down, but if you're wanting to create with me, that's what I'm doing. So for my spine, I just took this piece of cardstock I had. You could use plain, you could use craft, you could use whatever. Yeah, it looks perfect with this. I do like to have spines that are colored. If I do white ones or cream ones, then I will distress them. Just for obvious reasons, I like the color. So what we're going to do is my spine, we know, is going to be at least 8.5 high. Because we're going to stitch the journal into the spine. So we're going to do it 8.5 high. So let's just cut my paper. This is 12 by 12. Again, whatever you got. I'm just going to cut it at 8.5 because that'll be the height of my spine. And then I'm going to score my spine. So I'll take that out. Where is my scoring blade? Ooh, I thought I had everything here so that I didn't feel too, oh, there it is. So I didn't have to hunt around. Okay, so when I do my spine, I like to have a 2.5-inch flap on each side of the cover, just so that my spine will stay in place. So we're going to score at 2 inches. Okay, and then we're going to score at 1/2 inch past that. So this would be now 2.5 inches. And that's going to be the beginning of my first fin. So I like to do, for my hybrids, 1 fin on the front, my journal in the middle, and then 1 fin on the back. And the fins can, you know, you can add on to the fins after and make them thicker or thinner, but that's my basis. So now we're going to score again because I create my fins at 1/2 inch so that I've got lots of room to stick my pages onto without it coming off. So we're going to go another 1/2 inch. So now that puts us at 3 inches, and we're going to score, and that's the first fin. Then I like to take an inch in between from my journal when I sew it in, because I don't want it to be too alligatory on my pages. So I like to keep a lot of room in there. So I'm going to add another inch. So now we are at 4 inches, and I'm going to score. We're going to score at another 1/2 inch, because now remember, we are now doing our back fin. So there's the one side, another 1/2 inch right there. So now we're at 5 inches, score, and then we're going to take that and we're going to go another 2 inches, because this is the end of our spine here. And that's where you're going to change it out for your cutting blade and do that. So I know that seemed a little complicated, but here we go. We're going to go through this again. So in total, it's 8.5 inches high from my spine. The total piece of paper is 7 inches. So I scored at the 2 inch mark, 2.5 inch mark, 3 inch mark, 4 inch mark, 4.5 inch mark, 5 inch mark. Okay. So hopefully that makes it all clear there. And then what I'm going to do is, because this is the score side, I'm just going to score everything and burnish it before we do any taping or anything. This is just going to make it so my lines, A, are crisp, and B, so I can see them when I go to put the tapes on. So, perfect. Just going to do that with each crease. Ooh, I got my heater on because I'm down in my room because it's kind of chilly out, but I think I'm still wearing my pajamas. I know, my daughter's probably watching this going, "Those are your pajamas, Mom?" I'm like, yep. I'm down here because everybody went to work and school, and I thought, oh, perfect time to film. It's still a little crisp out. It's still early in the morning, but I think I'm getting a little warm. All right, so now that I've creased these, and I will crease on the other side later, but this is more so I can see what I'm doing. Now, because we are going to actually stitch the journal in this middle part here, I like to do a little extra step that to ensure I'm good. I'm going to flip it over, and I take a piece of Tyvek to go in here. You could use, people use washi tape, they use bandage tape. I like Tyvek because I buy it, God, I bought it years ago. A big box of these huge mailing envelopes that are made out of Tyvek. And I cut them down to use them for all my stuff. And I just happen to have a piece here. And this piece is perfect because it's going to cover my hinges here. But most importantly, it's going to cover this part here where I'm going to stitch in. And I don't want my stitching to come back out or rip my cardstock when I stitch into it. So this is where I'm going to put this on here. Now, I do several things on this. I do tape as well as glue. You could do one or the other or both like me. It's totally up to you. I'm just doing this on the outsides because it gives me an instant grab while the glue dries, and it keeps it from shifting, which I do find sometimes, you know, if I'm using wet glue only, sometimes I'll put it in there and it shifts a little bit before it dries, and then I'm like, oh, that's not where I wanted it. So I'm going to just peel off my tape if I can. Okay. Peel that off. Now remember, we're doing this on the back part of our spine, which is why mine is darker colored. Okay, and I'm just going to open a new bottle of Fabri-Tac. That's the glue I use. I like it. It doesn't warp my page. It's a little pricey, but I find I'm happy with the results. Ooh, there's a scum there. And that's just what I like to use, but whatever glue you are comfy with. And I'm just going to take a bit of glue. What the heck? Did I not get the seal? Nope. It'd help if I actually finished taking the seal off. Wondering why the glue is not coming out. Perfect. All right. Now let's try that again. All right, so now I'm just going to put my glue where my tape is not. Okay. And I'm just going to layer my piece of Tyvek right up over the middle here. And you can see my piece is not quite big enough to go all the way over, and that's all right, because the important part is it's covering where I'm going to stitch. And that's where I want the extra reinforcement so that I don't pull through my paper spine here. And I'm just going to burnish that in, and I'm just going to trim off the extra. I keep these pieces because I use them for all kinds of things. So I'm just going to cut that off. And I'm going to trim off this side because, again, this is a spine. It's going to be visible. So, there. Oh, that didn't cut very well, did it? I think I have to clean my scissors. Okay, so now you've got your spine glued on right here, okay? So now, this is where I'm going to burnish back the other way because I've got that Tyvek on there. So I want to kind of work it in so that when I make my little flaps here, it will work. And I'm just doing the other two here. As you can see, it's tough getting it to work at first because you do have that extra layer, but that extra layer is definitely going to protect your spine. All right. So now we've got that, and you can see clearly here again, we've got, these are the two first fins. This is where we're stitching, and it's all covered up. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece of two-sided tape down the first half-inch gusset here and the last half-inch gusset, which is right there. And you see this is why I definitely burnished it so you can see what we're doing from the back side. Just going to peel my tape, and then I'm going to add my bead of glue. Like I said, I like this to be super secure. So I add my bead of glue to the second part of the gusset because we're going to fold those over and flap. So we're just going to do that down the second part. And we're just going to fold it back and secure it. So that will be stuck in there pretty darn good. And fold it back this way. Okay, and now we're just going to fold this one over onto itself here. So this is where I say I like the tape, because the tape gives me the instant hold while the glue is drying. The glue gives me the ultimate strength. Okay, so there. So then when you flip it over, we're going to burnish these ones. You can see our hinge mechanism here. Now you could add more flaps if you want to do more pages, but I find these hybrid ones that I like to do this way, I can still put quite a bit on these hinges depending on what I'm wanting to do. So I find 2 flaps is pretty good, and 1 inch is a nice good spot to have I can still get a pretty chunky journal part in the middle, but it just allows me enough space, I feel. But again, this is totally adjustable for however you want. So then that is our mechanism there. Easy peasy, right? That's as simple as that. So then now when we go to make our spine of our book, we have now got our actual measurement of our spine piece. So the actual spine itself works out to 1 inch, but when I put it into my book, I like to have at least a 1/2 inch on either side from my spine so that you've got the room for it to open and not alligator, if that's making any sense. So when I make my back cover here, I need my actual spine is going to be 2 inches. Okay, but we will do that. Do I have time here? I'm trying to keep these short, so I don't want them to be overwhelming. I think I've got time. We'll cut the pieces for our covers. So this is where you get out your cereal boxes or chipboard, whatever it is you are wanting to have. I've got lots of chipboard and cereal boxes, but I think for this one, I actually have, no, that one's not big enough. I'm just going through my pieces that I've already got cut. Ooh, that one I think will work a bit. To use up some of these pre-cut pieces. So because we made our spine here 8.5 high, I like to go an extra 1/2 inch. So there's a 1/4 inch on the top and the bottom so that my pages have space to move around but aren't sticking out from the cover, so they're being protected. So I'm just going to, I get out a separate cutter for my cutting my chipboard. This is an old Stampin' Up! One. I find it's a good workhorse for this, and I'm not damaging my good paper blades. I'm using this instead. So we're going to cut this piece. So it is going to be 9 inches tall. So I usually just cut on one side, flip it over, cut on the other. And that's perfect. 9 inches tall. I've got an extra piece there. So remember I said I wanted this to be at least 2 inches because I've got a 1 inch spine and a 1/2 inch on either side so that I've got lots of space. So I'm just going to score this down to, or cut it down to 2 inches. Yes, and I totally moved. Sometimes I forget to hold still. Okay, I'm going to flip it to the other side and cut it. If you have a guillotine, which I do, but my blade is dull, that makes this definitely much easier. But I have to sharpen my blade, and there's nobody around here that does it, and I'm definitely not attempting it. Okay, so then there is your spine to your cover. Now, we are going to make our cover. Obviously, it's going to be 9 inches tall. So I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock I've got here to 9 inches tall. This isn't cardstock, sorry, chipboard. 9 inches tall. And then cut on the other side. Snap that. Perfect. And 9 inches tall. And because we're using my book, it is an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded in half. That would put it, my pages would be 5.5. And because again, I like that little extra space on there, at least a 1/4 inch, we are going to do, so it'd be 5.5. We're going to do a 5 3/4 inch cover. So 5 3/4 inch cover here. And the same on the other side. So there's one, and I am lucky because I can usually get the 2 pieces out of one of these 12 by 12 sheets, which is perfect. So remember, you need a front cover and a back cover, so the back one's going to be the same. We're just going to 5 3/4 again. Chop that off. Perfect. Okay, so now we have got our front cover, our back cover, our spine, and our inner spine, I guess. Okay, so on the next video, we're going to assemble all this and cover it all up, and then we can start creating after that. So I'm just going to keep these all short so that nobody gets frustrated or overwhelmed. And honestly, we don't all have hours to sit down and do this kind of thing, so I want to make it as convenient as possible for you. So please, if you're liking this video, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe so then you can follow everything I'm doing. I will also have some of these pictures as we're going posted on my Facebook site, Heart's Desire by Venus, so that you have a chance to take a look at what we're doing as well as the video. Hopefully, I will see you again. Have a great day.